everybody, Spectre Senence here, and I want to get a chance to go over something that has been out for a little bit, but a couple of reasons why I haven't made a review on it is simply because I need to kind of get back into 40k and play some 7th edition game. I'm playing a lot of alternate games, so before I kind of was passing judgment, really want to get a feel again for the 40k game, and I also get a chance to do a lot of playing, so have a good understanding of kind of what's going on. So this is a review of Dark Eldar Codex, as well as the Haemonculus Coven. I'm going to carry both of these because if you've seen a couple of my videos, that's pretty much what I did with my Dark Eldar from the previous Codex, using an ancient Haemonculus and going with Rax's troops. So we're going to kind of go over this. First thing, when you are getting these books, you're talking very, very high quality books. I mean, GW really does a great job with the fluff, the artwork, the splashes that you're going to get on these pages is really almost, there's second to none. There's a lot of good things about a lot of the different cabals. So you have great background. If you're not the creative type, you're really going to get an opportunity to find things in here that you can fit and piece together as you like, or straight ahead go ahead and build these cabals and stuff, or your covens as you feel necessary. So you have a lot of great work here. This video is just short and simple. There's the witches, that you're getting a lot of that, more awesome splash work of that. Now, I'll kind of go over some of the things about the Coven, but some good stories, part of it, but I'm going to go right to what you guys are probably looking for most is how does this Codex hold up for someone who has played Dark Eldar, especially in the past. Now, this is also now following the new format. I'll just kind of pop up real this. This is now how everything comes. Kind of a little different than the old format where you kind of got your HQ choices and they're all slotted in there. Everything is kind of working into place from that. There's a couple of separation of items, such as weapons of torture, tools of torment, designed for the Haemonculus and the Rax, and that element where your melee, special heavy weapons, arcane war gear, witches weapons, all these are going to be sectorial to the specific unit that they need, and some cool things with that. As they're more described, I'll go more into that as I get to that section. So pretty much starting right off as I get down to the back, and I'm using more or less the biggest group here, and we'll go right from the bat here. Now, one of the biggest things, if you remember GW Legals situations, there isn't been a figure for it, pretty much disappeared, although what I thought was strange was as Drupal Vect was removed, because there was basically a kit for that. Yes, dated way back to 3rd edition, but there was still a model, so they had it. But a number of models were removed from the HQ, as Drupal Vect was removed, Lady Malice was removed, Duke Sliskus the Serpent was removed, Karhendracha the Decapitator was removed, Baron Sathanix was removed. So all these named characters are gone from the HQ slot, and what you have now is we have an Archon. Not much change in the point cost. He's still 60. The weaponry kind of changed a little bit, and so you're pretty much getting everything that you pretty much had expected from the Archon. The gear has changed, so it makes it, you can do some little different things with that, and I'm not really going to kind of go with the gear stuff until we get to really the gear changes itself. But overall, you still get the Archon for what he is, and that's pretty well. And the next thing they have next here is the Court of the Archon. Now this is different. This was a slot that is, you can still take, and doesn't take an HQ slot, and it's pretty much the same, doesn't take any force or difference from old new. You're no longer restricted to taking one of each. Before, you must have the Lamayan, the Urgal, the Medusa, and the Sith before you can go into getting multiples of them. Now you can get them in any grouping, which gives the court a lot more variety in terms of whatever your play style is. If you like the poison from the the Lemain, you can do so. They're all right there. And point costs, they're pretty much almost the same. The Medusa actually is 10 points more here. The Lemains are the same. The Urgals are the same, and the Slith is actually 10 points cheaper. So pretty much a lot of the same stuff there. I'm not gonna. Not many people play this. I think it's kind of cool. You have some weaponry in here. I think this court can kind of work, but wasn't really fully for what I was doing a lot of it. So now we got the Succubus. She is 10 points more, but the one thing I'll let you know that she has this thing that's not in the other section. It's called the Archite Glaive, and that kind of gives her a boost in strength. And actually, we'll go back and give you an explanation of that. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Because this was something that did change her considerably for what she's able to do. So it's a +1 double-handed AP2 melee, a melee two-handed weapon. She can do it single-handed with an AP3 melee. So it gives the Succubus, a really good hitting capacity. She can kill whatever she kind of needs to in combat with everything she's got. So really like that. I think this model kind of works if you want to go kind of direct for what you have. Definitely very cool. Lilith changed quite a bit here. She's actually 25 points cheaper than she was in there. But let's see, she's got some things that I think are pretty much most of the same. Still the 3+ invulnerable in close combat, so it's 4 overall, 3+ in the fight phase. She can pick up an impaler. I don't know if she really didn't have that opportunity. Oh, it says she's kind of with it, so not really a whole lot, I guess. It's and that will make it so she's only 10 points from the old book. So Lilith pretty much the same, not a big change. This is where I'm going to kind of delve into. This is kind of a big difference. Well, Urian Rakarth is still here. He is actually 50 points cheaper here. Has quite a bit of stuff. He doesn't have the overall effect with affecting the grotesque in the army as he did before from what he had, but he has preset stuff, Icon Injector, Clone Field. He is the Father of Pain, so all units from it will have the new Power from Pain rule, and he has a little bit of changing of that. And then he comes also with a Casket of Cleansing, which is a range 12, strength 3, AP3, assault 2d6, 1 use only. So pretty set standard for that. Stats pretty much also look the same there. The biggest thing that I got from the homunculuses was the ancient homunculus is gone. And really, the ancient homunculus is the homunculus now in the new Codex. So they just had homunculus and they had ancient. All the stat lines from the homunculus are the ancient homunculus' old stat lines. So you can see the homunculus was 50 points in the old Codex. This is 70, but the ancient was 80. So really, you're getting a 10-point cheaper homunculus for this, who does a lot with the Father from Pain, and you're kind of restricted with that. This was kind of cool because before you could get up to like 1 and 3 of them, so like almost 4 out of 1 little HQ slot. You can't really do that now, but that changes with a Coven, which will get talked about later. And they pretty much have almost the same access to all the stuff that you're more or less getting. So no real change in what they're doing ability-wise. Drazhar is in here now. He is 40 points cheaper for pretty much. The stat lines on him seem to be almost not the same stuff from the old book, but things that were part of the upgraded powers for the Incubi Sergeant type of things. So a little bit of a blend for that. I don't know if he's all that awesome for what you're really kind of getting. I haven't really tried them out that much, but we'll see. Seems okay. So we go into troops, and you have the Calabite Witches. These are sectioned out, but there are little upgrades in there to turn the Calabite Warriors into Trueborn and the Witches into Blood Brides. So pretty much, see if I can kind of figure apart that. Makes it so the witches are pretty much the same. You're not getting them any cheaper. You are not getting, I think the guy's any cheaper anyways. Let's see. Point line is 10 points. Oh, 9 points per mana. So I'm looking at. So Calabite Warrior's got a point cheaper, so that's pretty good. And really the power wise is the Trueborn are pretty much the same in terms of how many you'll put on for what you're feeling. The Witches though got a lot of change. They no longer can have the haywire grenades, and this is where I find that is pretty sad. The Witches almost have no role in the army. With a 6+ armor save, the dodge is only effective in close combat. It's a 50-50 dodge with a toughness 3. Their weapon skill is 4, which seems to be mediocre. It's, for something that's the same as the Calabite Warriors. I just feel that there's just little things on the Witches that are stat-wise just wrong. They don't meet any of the criteria. You need the combat drugs to do some things, but the combat drugs are going to be random, inconsistent of what you really kind of need them for any specifics that you need to do. They don't have any blazing attack. The stats just don't measure up. 4, 4, 3, 3, 1, 6, 1, 8, 6. Initiative 6 is the nicest thing you're going to get out of this group, but it's not something that makes it overpowered with the strength 3. They're just not going to be able to do a lot. The weapons that you're getting are not over the top either. They're not power weapons. They're not cutting through things. They're just isn't happening. Folks, it's just not happening. I just don't see why you would take Witches. This is one of the things that you look at and you're really just playing for the fun and the great looking models. It's a shame. They're cool, but for combat techniques, you're not going to use them. The Calabite Warriors you're just better off with Calabite Warriors overall. They're just going to at least have a 1 point better armor save for 2 points cheaper, and they're going to have a gun that's poison. At least Calabite Warriors with poison are going to be able to do something if they run even monstrous creatures, where a witch and a monstrous creature can do nothing. Virtually nothing. And it's less likely to be a roadblock. Only 50% of those saves is going to happen. Where a Calabite Warrior can at least have shot that thing before it gets there. So, pretty sad. Really sad with that. Disappointed. Incubi have gotten about 2 points cheaper. They're still the same badasses. They're going to be the carbon cuts that go through things that you want. The difference is though the Codex doesn't have some of the powers like the Murders, Assault, and Onslaught are gone. But overall, I think you can still do it. They gave Rampage to the Codex, but not much to everybody else. So that's where they are. So that's okay. Mandrakes were terrible in the old edition, but in this edition, they really got a lot of extra stuff. With the power from pain being something that is boosting up now as the turns go by, with them getting shrouded and stealth, they're in terrain. These guys are impossible to get out. So you're really gonna have to have special weapons to kill them, the ones that can run cover, and then or likely go into close combat and deal with them in close combat. So I really like where Mandrakes are. I think Mandrakes have a place in place where you want to play and build. They're excellent, and you should check them out. Racks are pretty much the same. They have a new weapon called the Ossifactor, and that weapon I really like. I think it works really well, and you're going to need it because the liquefier gun got nerfed. I'll talk a little bit later in that aspect, and that really affects the rack's shooting capacity in terms of softening the target. So they're really now a much more close combat unit than before. Grotesque are interesting. They have lost the Berserk Rampage special rule to them. They just get Rampage now, so they don't really need a controller, especially as things progress, especially with Haemonculus' Coven. So that will make them pretty interesting. They are also they're still about the same cost too. But interesting enough, though, there was only really the aberration could be the upgrade with the weaponry, but they realized, I think, with the modeling that it came with a flesh gauntlet. They pretty much all come with flesh gauntlets now. So in essence, they are 20 points cheaper because they all come with flesh gauntlets, which was a 20-point upgrade in the book for that aspect there. So that's where that is. Interesting enough. The Beastmasters is an interesting. So from fast attack, this also, you don't need any specific ones. They also don't necessarily need to be led by a Beastmaster, so you can just get Beast, and they're pretty much all these creatures are about the same. The Chimera, the Razorwing Flock, the Clawed Fiend, they're all there, so you can pretty much get all the same models. Nothing of that really changed, and again, you can just get, make them as you need. Dedicated transports, there is a big tweak to this. Basically, the Raider is 5 points cheaper, but the thing now is the equipment, which I will now make a little bit of a note because it's more important with these things, is the Night Shield and Flicker Field. More or less, the Flicker Field is now just on the Venom, and you can kind of get this Night Shield on the Venom, but it's really not necessary much anymore because it's a stealth thing, where it's +1 stealth. So you'd not really want to jink a lot with the Venom, so you just might as well rely on the 5+ invulnerable. So that's where kind of like that mentality went with that. With the Raider, with the one shot, you might as well jink because it's got the people anyways. So that really came with that accessibility on the Raider to having that more. So it definitely makes a different play style. It's interesting having Raiders with 3+ jinks, very almost Eldar-like, keeping these frail vehicles more upright. So some interesting cool things with that. The Reavers, their flyby thing, that all got nerfed. It's very Pacific now for what they do, but I still think they're still very useful. They are actually 6 points cheaper, and you need them in these the new mission cards that you play. These guys are just gonna zip over there and claim or whatever, compete for whatever you need. So that's awesome. The next one is Hellions. They're 3 points cheaper, but they're not cheap enough for me to really want to take them. They've just never felt fit a role. They're again just witches on Green Goblin sled things, and they don't really do a whole lot combat wise. Same stats. So neat models. Really no place for them. I wouldn't take them. So the Razorwing Jetfighter moved from heavy to fast attack, and pretty much going along with the flyer rules. And it is 15 points cheaper straight up. But I think no. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. It's also going to the fast attack, which is helpful. Scourges, also fast attack. They are really good now. You haven't used to get these guys before. They're 6 points cheaper. They doubled up the weapons that can go in these guys now. They also have a power lance, which I thought was cool. So really, they really got some. They can come down and do some damage now. So these guys are really your flying devastators with choices of weaponry that they can take for either anti-infantry or vehicles with their haywire blasters or lances, whatever your favorite is. These guys can do the job. So you're probably going to find a lot more room for getting Scourges and getting hold of them because they're cool now. Definitely good. Talos got a lot better. They're 20 points more, but I just feel that they, with the new power thing kind of working, where they're just going to start getting stronger and stronger. These guys are really going to, these guys are what benefits from the power from pain as they're moving along. So they're going to be a real threat. And the fact that they're no longer just one, you can get 3 of these guys in a group now. These little war packs of death. So that's cool. I think the Tauses are really nice. The Kronos has a really got a different change from what I used them for, where the old Kronos did a wound with its power siphoning thing, and then it gave power from pain tokens. Well, you don't need that anymore. So the Kronos had to do a change, and now it's just its identity is there to improve feel no pain. So for rack armies and grotesques and Tauses, the Kronos is one of those beneficial ones that are going to help build up from that aspect there. And it's a monstrous creature and that aspect there. And you can also get more Kronoses to kind of make more of a little bit of a power node 6 inches out. So very interesting, and there's another thing in the Coven that will make this another interesting point to that. Ravengers are pretty much the same. 5 more points, but they do all the same stuff, and you're gonna get the whole jinking thing like that. The Void Raven now has a nifty new model. One of the ones I want to definitely get into. It's pretty cool. This is 50 more points, but it's got some pretty powerful weaponry, and I think really works well. So now let's go into kind of the appendix. We've seen some of the units, what they're up to. Couple things. The combat drug table, like I said, it's old. It's pretty old school. It's not really nothing amazing. From +1 attack to +1 strength or toughness, it's really, like I said, it's a roll. You don't know what you're gonna get. It affects every unit once you got it, and it's like I said, so it's too unpredictable for really a competitive playtest. Good for fun, but think about it from there. Now, power from pain for the Dark Eldar is on the first turn nothing is going on, and the second turn they all get a 6+ feel no pain. In turn 3, now it's down to a 5+ feel no pain. On turn 4, they also get the feel no pain plus free discharge. On turn 5, the same 2 things plus fearless. And on turn 6, they will get all 3 things in rage. So this is interesting, having played Dark Eldar, where you had to kind of kill to get certain units up. So certain units quickly benefited from the old power from pain, and many units like Scourges, sometimes Calibite Warriors, who couldn't deal the quick death, on a massive amount of death, would be stuck without these power from pains. Now that the whole army is just basically juicing from the carnage on the battlefield, I think that's amazing for the Dark Eldar. It really gives them a sense of, as it's escalating, things are going in their favor pretty well. I like that. It makes it so it's they're pretty tough. So by turn 5, every Dark Eldar force unit is going to be fearless, meaning that's hard to get them off objectives. They're going to be down to the last man. If there are certain units falling off the board, they're going to just immediately turn around as being fearless. There's a lot of tactical things you got to kind of look at Dark Eldar for that. And I think that's really interesting. Warlord traits I'm not really going to, because they're just random things that you just kind of play into. And so weaponry wise, things to kind of look out for. Huskblade going to AP3, because I believe that was an AP2 weaponry, is a little sad. Let's see, I'm going to front some stuff here. yeah, I think it was like that was FAQ thing. So that was kind of nice on the Archons. Now it's a little less. Flesh Gauntlets now will have this, instead of these weird remove and play, all that stuff like that, they just took a lethal dose is the tag. So on a roll of a wound of 6, it is going to do the instant death. Let's see, some interesting things here. Hex Rifle now has this arcane payload. Its instant death is when you roll 6 to hit. So that terminology changed. The Liquefier Gun, let me kind of dip into that because that's something I use a lot with the Rex. Be prepared. It being strength 3 really nerfs it against the Marines. You're not going to be killing Marines at a good pop anymore because you're basically wounding them on 5s. I've been using it kind of hitting and barely doing a wound, maybe 2. It's really not the hit that I like anymore. I'm disappointed because you're still on AP 4, 5, 6. Then the model's going to get those saves of those high caliber. So you're very less likely to do the wounds with these liquefier guns, and they're becoming almost 1 to 2 shots, not doing a whole lot. I've been doing a ton of less wounds compared to earlier on, where I at least did wounds, but and forcing them to make saves. Now they're not even having to worry about the AP element because I'm not even putting a single wound on with a flamer template. I think that's very, very weak. If they were so worried about the D6 liquefier aspect, they should have changed that. Like at least I'd rather have something that wounds than something that definitely kills. If that was what they're worried about, I would have been happy if they turned it to AP4, just so you have something that has a capacity to wound, something of that aspect. But where this liquefier gun is now is disappointing. It's not very good. I'm actually looking to almost remove a lot of them from my units because I'm not using it as much. The Ossificator is the new weapon for the Rax. This is amazing because it's 24-inch range, so you got farther range with it. It says strength 1. Don't worry about that. AP 2. That's gonna kill Terminators. It's assault 1, but then here's Fleshbane, which means it'll always wound on a 2. And then you have something called a Electric Spear. So if you do cause the wound, a model dies. Then it does D6 additional wounds at the toughness value of the model that you killed, with no cover being allowed. So it's wherever the armor was. So lightly armored stuff. Characters are going to even probably more likely die at a higher rate, and meanwhile, armor stuff, is going to, will get a better chance. But again, they're not going to get any benefit of the cover at that aspect there. So that is very, very cool. Phantasm grenade launchers changed. Got this thing called Soul Fright, and that's. It can do some damage, but honestly, it basically states anything that is fearless or they shall know no fear, which means Marines, you're not affecting. So kind of sucking when most people in the area are going to pretty much predominantly run into 75% Marines to run into something like that. So that's kind of sucky. So overall, Clung Field has changed. Now that's a straight up 4+ invulnerable save, and that will always work. Your Shadow Field is a 2+ invulnerable save, and it only is lost after once you made you failed it, it will end at the end of the phase. So it's not the first wound. So you can roll all of them, and then once you miss one, and one of many, then the thing shuts down. So that is a nice little bonus cool with that. I like where that has kind of gone. The Torment grenade launchers are almost the same thing as the grenade launchers from the characters. So that's interesting. Chain Sneers on the vehicle equipment. Now it just gives the rate or whatever you put it on tank shock. I don't like that. I kind of like I like the hit ensnaring a person. That was neat with that. And Shock Prow makes it so you can use the tank shock at strength 14 again. Okay, but I don't know. I think the vehicle equipment stuff like that kind of lost their fun. One way to know, I forgot kind of go back on what's important because I'm looking back at gear. The webway portal. And me and Spectre have gone over this webway portal as its incarnations have gone out. Now back in 3rd edition, you basically had to have a disc propped up, and this was the point of all your reserves coming out when a webway portal was created. But anything could come out of it. Raiders would transport, the whole unit came out of this webway portal, and you could gear it to keep everyone there until you wanted that webway portal to come out and the people to come out with that. So a great bridge to attack. You sent sacrificial raiders up, so one of them would drop the webway portal, and now you're attacking it half the area into your enemy. Awesome for the Dark Eldar back in the past, who didn't have a lot of variety of models at the time. So that was the neat aspect of that. And then this edition, when they came out, the webway portal went to junk. You couldn't control the reserves. No more vehicles were allowed to come out of it. So it just didn't make a lot of sense why you would have this webway portal. Try to even set it up when most of the models could run the distance before you even got this set up, which you didn't even know by the time you got into setup that you could get it set up and the people would come out of it as needed. So a very complicated device, not very functional in the old edition of the old edition Codex. However, now this thing is what the Dark Eldar were always meant to be. Webway portals now allow a unit to deep strike exactly where they want, and this is mostly to attach to independent characters, so they'll give this deep strike to the units they're attached with as well as vehicles. So boom, any unit with your Archon, your Haemonculus, your Succubus, wherever you want with them, you want them to show up, that's where you're going to be with Dark Eldar. This gives the Dark Eldar the assassination type of Codex. So very scary to put on the field and to deal with this, where you're going to put your units and who can you really protect, because they are going to be able to choose who they want to go after with these type of characters. These webway portals are only stuck to the HQs, those independent characters, so there's not a lot of them. They're also expensive at 35 a pop, but if you think about the practicality of the things and the certainty units that you can attach to, the webway portal is awesome. Really, really awesome. One of the things I think the artifacts of cruelty, the one that stuck out was the Helm of Spite. This is going to be very helpful because it allows within 12 inches of the bearer, Antimite will. In addition, enemy psychers that are within 12 inches of the bearer suffers a parallel warp when they roll doubles when making psychic tests. So that's a nice little counter for some of the power that's creeping up from there. There's an attachment here, the Real Space Raiders attachment. So basically giving them hunt for the shadows during the entire first game, and during any turn in which night fighting rules are in effect, all troops units from this attachment have a 5+ cover save, and all units other units from this attachment have as a 6+ cover save. So neat. And so I think you have a lot of stuff out of the Dark Eldar Codex. I think it's a very playable codex. It's solid. There's not a lot of over-the-top stuff. There are going to be some things that will give you some alpha capacity. Well, not alpha strike because you're going to be in reserve, but at least in turn 2, when they show up, this webway portal can really make some nasty hits on things you can have a difficulty protecting. But Dark Eldar are typically frail anyways, so it's a nice countermeasure to have something that they can hit hard just as well as they are getting hit. So enjoy that. Now, a couple things about this. The Haemonculus is covered. Again, same quality book that you're pretty much getting on the Dark Eldar. A little light on the rule aspect. What you're pretty much getting is a different detachment setup, formations, which is a lot more than you get the other one, and a couple more missions. Some missions that are written kind of in this. The only thing is, having this codex change from this to that, this was $100 investment to really get my old army that I started this way, because I could get an Haemonculus and make racks my troops. Buying the flying cast, spending all that money on the aspect, I've already invested a lot for this aspect here. Having to drop basically about $100 for this 2 combinations to get my army back to where I could actually play it again, albeit like an unbound list. Still, I'm able to play with the army that I've already originally created without having to modify too much more, which I'm still having to, but at least, please, that's a tough sell, folks, so take grips with that. So that's why I'm thinking if you're watching this video, you want to see what I'm talking about going into this. So again, a lot more fluff going on with the Coven. You're still getting the beautiful artwork. That's a lot of the stuff all designed around the abominations and things created by the homunculuses. But they have a new power from pain table, and this is specifically made for those units like the Racks, the Grotesques, the Taluses, because they already come with Feel No Pain. So the power, the pain table that you were getting from the Dark Eldar, and you were moving in that direction from what I was doing, had no bearing on them at all. It was, you're getting turns basically in that have, they're not really helping the Racks and Grotesques. So GW is realizing that, realized where some of the things went, and this supplement has come out. So at least thank you for that aspect and giving me something that I can work with what I had built before. And it's impressive. So basically from turn 1 there's nothing, but turn 2 all the units are becoming fearless. Turn 3, again they get the fearless, but now they can just cause fear. Turn 4, the same 2, but they will not die. At 5 they gain the same things and gain Zealot. At turn 6 they gained Eternal Warrior with the fear, it will not die, and Zealot. So they're really building a lot with some almost horror aspect with this army. And when you build the detachment that's set up with this, which this one gives you now 6 HQ slots. Yeah, so 6 HQ slots. You're allowed 8 elites in this with 4 heavies, or there's no fast attack, anything like that to make this detachment. That's really the detachments, and the thing about them, they get freakish spectacle. They will cause -1 leadership to models around them within 12 inches, and you can also reroll the warlord trait. But there are formations, a number of them in this group, and when you get homunculuses attached to certain of these formations, you can automatically get the warlord trait of that formation. So this is interesting. It's a little trickery in that aspect. When you do this, is the fact that if you like, such as Master of Hypothesis, which is the warlord in a rack model, the unit he is with, you get a 4+ Feel No Pain. That is awesome when you're going with a Covenite Flesh Corp, which is his Feel No Pain in that one unit, and then he's gonna, it transfers to all the people around him. The power table is increasing for what he's allowed. So these are some really cool things that allow you to really gear up as you like. So like a lot of that stuff in this. The Nightmare Doll in this also improves that, so you can take the Nightmare Doll knowing that you get a Master Hypothesis and have your homunculus have a 3+ Feel No Pain. So pretty cool with that. You have a Grotesquerie, a Scarlet Epicureans. One of the cool things in here allows you to combine, so Dark Artisan allows you to combine 1 Talus, 1 Chronos, and homunculus as an actual unit, which you couldn't do in the Codex, but you can do this as a formation to get a bonus. There's a nice thing called a Scalpel Squadron, which is 2 units of Racks in Venoms, and they are held in reserve, and they get to come down turn 1, deep striking, and do an alpha strike, and if they cause first blood, they get D3 victory points on top of that instead of 1. So some neat little stuff with that. I think that's the formations add a lot of little things to that aspect there, and some cool missions that they say you can pretty much go right into. Altars of War missions that are more geared to your army if you have the choice of that. So that's, and I'm enjoying the rack aspect of that and what's going on. So a couple of battles, Spectre, Senence, what do you think? There's some unit, with doing this I've had to do some changes to the army because at first this was the two combined things, more geared around racks, but I had flyers and certain raiders with Cavalite warriors or stuff like that, and extra venoms or stuff like that with certain warriors and witches and things in support to kind of flesh out some points. This is giving you more of a formation direction for detachments, so I'm going to have to build a little bit more on that for the cohesions and the effectiveness of this to get that to work. But overall, you're going to have some hard-hitting stuff. The Dark Eldar are going to be fast, quick, hard-hitting, and gaining the resilience mentally wise, which I think is changing them from their Eldar Bethran, making this a pretty interesting codex that you have to really think about as you're dealing with it, because they are changing as you progress to the battlefield, getting stronger and stronger. So that's a different element that you're going to face as an opponent and as a general for these guys of what you're going to be able to do on the tabletop. So some really cool things that you can really kind of work with that. And this, of course, just adds the horror aspect of the flesh crafting and the changing the creatures and stuff like that going on, making some very, very deadly combinations, and the formations out of this stuff is also going to be pretty scary for other generals to deal with. So overall, I am very pleased with the direction of the Dark Eldar Codex. I hope if there's any questions that you guys have, comment below. I'll tap back into these things and give you an idea of what I think and how things are moving in. I also hope to plan to get some videos up of having some actual bat reps with the Dark Eldar as we delve into the Spectreverse and stuff like that. So again, hope you enjoy. Have any questions, like I said, let me know. One little note that I'll put back, and you guys have seen this, these guys are the battle brothers to this, and a nice little combination is you can add with the new webway portal for your HQ a lot of little things out of these things that you can attach to, such as Wraithgar or Wraithblades, fire dragons that can just pop out at any moment with this HQ guy and zap whatever the hell you want. Makes that definitely some pretty Death Star tournament worthy things for people to worry about, and it'll be nasty. But let me know what you think. Comment below. I appreciate you taking the time and hearing my thoughts on this codex, and like I said, I'll answer any questions if you ask me what you want to know, and if you're kind of want to see a little bit more going on and some of the other talking going on. I'll mention again that we are a website, spectrestudios.us. From there you can definitely find more of our videos, as it will show you where things can be linked to that. It'll also show you where we go to our forum page, where many of the Spectres are there talking, Games Workshop and many other games that you can find on there as well. And we talk even movies, books, and sports. So there's a long variety of subjects. We welcome you to come in and chat with us. That's the whole idea of Spectre Studios, is to be an online community. No matter where you are in the world, we are a friendly group, and we definitely love to reach out and hear your voices. And also from the studio, you can go and support us by joining Patreon, and there's a wide variety of ways you can support us, from just helping us out with $1 to getting your name in one of the many games that we play, and hearing your name as a star hero, star player, a hero, or anything of that aspect. Or if you're a business, or if you'd like to come up with some cool signs that you thought would be pretty neat, there's some ways to get that in there. Check out the Patreon video to figure that out. Once again, I'm Spectre Senence. Thank you very much, and enjoy.